Yeah, is anyone else craving a glazed donut? Is that just me?
That's just you. I
I
don't
don't know why. It's like in my veins right now. I'm like, oh.
Welcome to Was It Good, the podcast that reviews movies and TV shows. Today we are talking Ted Lasso, Season 3, Episodes 1 and 2. I'm Ravi, joined by my two brothers,
Arjuna.
Krishna.
and our producer.
Michael.
Who's going to say it? Nobody's going to say it?
Nailed it.
Oh, okay, there you go.
And we
Damn
are AFC Richmond.
Whoa. We're wishing until we die.
We're Richmond till we die.
Roy Kent. Roy Kent.
Oi!
All right, that's the boss.
There you go.
We did
That's
it.
pretty much everything you
Nailed
ever
it.
want to say or need to say about Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso.
Let's start off with my favorite subject.
Soccer.
The CGI.
Wow, we're starting there.
Let's start with a bang.
Oh, we have
Here you
to.
go.
We have to. Now, so episode 1 to episode 2. Episode 1 obviously did not have really any actual. There was no soccer games, right?
They hadn't played. They hadn't started the
They hadn't
season.
started the season. Episode 2. Obviously, we've got our big game. Our game of Richmond versus
Chelsea.
Little small team in the Premier League. Not very big at all. And we got a couple of them on the sidelines, them on the field, and then them in the players in the foreground and the crowds in the background. And I'll say this. It was not as bad as the trailer, which is a nice surprise.
Well, I'm shocked.
Wow.
Shocked that you had something
Is that the
positive
most-
to say.
Is that the most positive thing Ravi's ever said about CGI?
Yes. It's also because this show is supposed to be a positive outlook on things. So I'm attempting this new thing.
Oh,
Trying
wow.
to be positive about things. that are
Everything.
bad.
Is that your one-word impression?
Yes.
Positive?
Positivity.
Okay.
Ooh.
That's my one-word impression.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Oh, it's good, right?
Why though?
Because I'm trying to be positive. The show's a fucking positive thing.
Oh,
Play
okay.
back the tape. Play the tape. Christian, what's your one-word impression going to be?
It's gonna be tension. So I think my biggest problem with season 2 was that it was like disjointed, and a lot of that stemmed from the lack of tension or the random tension thrown throughout. In just 2 episodes in this 3rd season, they've introduced a lot of really good tension between characters, between situations, and you can see that there's like a through line, right? It feels already more cohesive than any 2 episodes from season 2, 2 consecutive episodes. So I want, it's only 2 episodes, but I kind of want to say Ted Lasso's back. And I think a big part of the reason is because of the good tension. I think specifically too, the tension that has elevated this season so far is with Rebecca and Rupert. That I think was sorely missing, or there was something there that was missing from the 2nd season. In the 1st season, it's like this overarching thing that really permeated throughout the club, and now that tension is back, and you can see that it's going to cause issues, and that's exciting.
Yeah, he doesn't become the owner of West Ham until the last episode or 2. It's pretty late in the season when he's
Season 2.
of season 2. Right.
When Rupert the Bear.
When the Prime Minister becomes
Oh, that's right. He is the prime in Little Britain. He's the he's also in Buffy, right?
I think so. Yeah.
As
I
a
didn't watch Buffy, but
I didn't either.
I've heard he's in that.
I was too young for that, I guess.
Too young.
We were too cool. We were watching Stargate SG-1.
Yeah, I mean that's the far superior fantasy show.
Clearly.
Duh.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that.
Stargate.
I'm just making
It's a
weird.
brand new world.
Exactly. Junior, your one-word impression, and it can't be positive or tension, and it can't be related to either of those words.
Mine's going to be soccer.
We're watching football, though.
It's football.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm going to call it soccer.
You
because
American.
We are Americans.
In the one episode where Ted goes football,
Or Junior's
I'm
gonna
gonna
go
go
soccer.
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 We're red-blooded Americans. No, I'm gonna go. Well, I'm gonna go soccer because it already feels like in season 3 we've gotten more of the sport with them training, with them bonding, even with the Chelsea game. Even though it wasn't a lot, but we still saw. It feels like probably a little bit hyperbolic here. It feels like there's more of the actual game in this season already than there was in season 2, and I like that. Right, like this is a workplace comedy in some ways. This is a weird drama from season 2, but I did like the aspect of the sport with the team building and everything going on there, and it feels like this season is leaning into that a little bit more, which is cool.
Cool
beans. So
Nice.
our one-word sentence is tension, positivity, soccer, or positivity, tension, soccer.
Sounds like a new sport, actually. It's like a sport that you would play. Like, it feels like a sport you'd play in like the Hunger Games world, where, you know, if you don't win, your people die of starvation.
You got to play soccer with positivity and tension.
Right. But the tension is like your people suffer, but they still want you to have a good time, like while you play.
Have a good time. This might be your last game, but just have a good one.
But wouldn't you argue,
my
I guess you could argue that in professional sports, well, actually, I take that back. In college level sports, it's more positivity tension, right? Because you're deciding, as a player, you're deciding your entire future. But again, you also have to be positive while you're playing. But once you make it to the pro leagues, for the most part, not as much tension.
Positivity?
I think there's more positivity and less tension at the pro league.
I think it depends on where you're at in your career. If you're a rookie, there's probably more tension. If
Right.
you're an established vet, there's probably a little less.
What about if you're Tom Brady?
Right. Yeah. What if you're going through a divorce?
Well, he's no longer a pro, right? He's retired, right? I mean, I've been out of the game for a
Allegedly.
while here, so
Allegedly, he's retired. We'll
I know
see.
it's amazing what happens when you stop working in sports.
Oh yeah.
I know nothing about what's going on in the sports world because I just don't.
You
look
don't
at
need
it.
to know. Yeah, it's whatever.
He's throwing
don't need to
footballs
know,
at
yeah.
charity events.
Well, I know he started streaming. Like he,
Oh, God.
I think he's only done like one or two. This is Tom Brady, and it was primarily a racing game, some racing sim. And
He's doing video game streaming.
video game streaming. Yeah. Kind of interesting.
Yeah, that does.
He'll be
that
back
sounds
by
very
June.
interesting.
That's my guess.
Ooh, wow! We're doing bold
How old
predictions
is
of
he
Tom
again?
Brady's return.
45?
He's 45. Yeah,
Okay.
he'll be 46 this August.
Wow. Speaking of people who are old, Ted Lasso. He's actually Jason.
Sudeikis.
He's 47.
Oh wow.
He's roughly the same age as Brady.
Right. So it's
Weird.
They might recast Ted Lasso with Tom Brady, is what you're saying.
Yeah, if you want a very stone appearance. Hey guys.
Actually,
Let's
I could
play.
totally see them doing like where Beard goes on has like an LSD trip, and he comes into work still tripping, and Ted Lasso is Tom Brady. I could see that show pulling off a one-off episode like that.
That would be
hilarious.
That would be interesting. That would be kind of bizarre.
Do you think Brady
would
would
be
wear a
bizarre.
mustache?
Yes.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so.
Oh yeah. He's down. He's game for a little.
He thinks he's an actor.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it. I think he has been acting for so long. He's kind of pulled the
As
he's
Tom
pulled-
Brady?
So
He's pulled the Paul Rudd of it all.
so none of you have seen 80 for Brady. I
No.
did.
why would we?
And there's a scene at the end where he tries to like act. He has this like speech where he has this like emotional.
like was he trying to do a Bill Pullman Independence Day type thing?
No, it wasn't like a public speech. Like he's talking to a character one-on-one and they're having like a heart-to-heart, and
Gotcha.
he like puts on like his like he wants to be like serious and tender, and it is really bad, like truly awful.
Would you say this is one of those times where athletes should stick to sports?
Okay, let's get back into Ted Lasso.
I couldn't help it. I'm sorry.
I mean, it's right there. I think in that aspect, yes. But in other aspects, no. We'll leave it there.
Yeah. Moving on. Moving on.
Moving on. So Ted Lasso. So he's still talking to Sharon. And Sharon, who was the therapist in season 2,
Who's the team therapist?
is now boning Rebecca's plaything. Is that who that person was in the bed?
No, that was just
That was a random?
I thought it was a rando.
I thought it was a callback.
I thought it was a random guy.
It was a rugby guy.
yeah, the rugby guy.
Oh, gotcha.
But it wasn't a character I don't think we've seen
Interesting.
before. But she's no longer with the team.
Right.
She's off on another team. But they still
Getting off.
they still talk,
Communicate.
right? They still communicate,
Right.
even though it's a brief little cameo there. She wasn't in episode 2 at all. They're establishing that.
And then how do you guys feel about the because obviously he spent the summer with his kid.
His son, yeah.
His son, who's a child actor
Exponentially
who has
grown.
grown 10. His power has quadrupled.
He's now 25.
And has a
Basically.
British accent.
He had a little bit of a British accent.
That was weird.
It's like, oh,
Well, it kind of makes sense, right? Especially at that age, your formative years in terms of picking up dialogue.
Yeah, if he's there for a couple months.
Yeah, I could see that happening. But the Lego set that they built out, Lego
Right.
Soccer, is Lego Soccer coming back? That's the big question here, because
I had a Lego soccer set.
No, it was
yeah.
all of ours.
It was mine.
No, it was ours.
All right, well, it was mine.
Yeah, it was kind of all of ours, but yeah.
Were the insectoids all of ours?
No, that's why it's right up there.
Yeah, because the soccer set was mine.
Fun fact, that's not the original Lego Insectoid. I found full kits sealed and paid whatever for it. And as soon as I got it, I looked at it, I was like, I should probably keep this sealed. And I was like, fuck that. So I opened it and built it.
Oh my god.
That's hilarious.
But, that Lego Soccer kit was all of ours. So
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
Sure.
yeah. It was. I can't move on until it was all of ours.
It wasn't.
It was.
It was mine.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway,
3
I was hoping,
hours later.
I was hoping that they would release a Ted Lasso soccer Lego thing, but as of taping of this pod, there is no
Not yet.
Ted Lasso soccer Lego thing.
Not yet.
Would you guys buy it?
Probably not. I don't have room for Legos at the moment.
No, it's make room.
But when I do have room, maybe I would. But there are other Lego sets I want to get.
List off
Such as
top 5 Lego sets.
I would like the Star Wars Millennium Falcon, the one that you have.
Oh, okay.
I like that one a lot. I would like the Thanos Infinity Gauntlet. That one's pretty cool.
That's a nice one. Yeah.
There's also like the cool Stranger Things one, the Upside Down, which is like
It actually like spins.
yeah,
too.
it spins, which is pretty cool. That one looks pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's it.
there's some others.
I don't feel like that was 5.
Oh, you know what? There's a Voltron one that came out a while ago.
yeah.
That looked really cool. There's a Bowser one that came out recently that also looked really cool. Yeah, there are a lot of cool Lego sets. They're
Have
all
you-
very expensive.
Seeing the
That's true.
AT-AT doesn't come apart.
Really?
I was just watching a video. It has 2 steps in it that can't be reversed without like destroying the piece that
Wow.
it
An indestructible Lego AT-AT.
Well, not indestructible. It's not very playful.
Indestructible.
Oh, there's also that Mos Eisley Cantina. That one looks really cool.
That's fun.
That one is like pristine.
Pristine, and what does that mean?
It just looks cool. Like it looks clean. Like it looks detailed. Have you noticed like Lego sets from like now in 2023, from like the early 2000s when we were kids, have like become like way better?
Oh yeah, I mean, I would hope so.
It's because we've all aged up, so they need to
called
make them more
progress.
detailed.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like that series they have, right? The special series that have like the little nameplates or whatnot.
Oh, the
that come with it?
UCS, the Ultimate Collector series.
Yeah, which is literally for like the kids who grew up with Legos
Yeah.
and are adults now and are like, well, I still need to get Legos, but I don't want to be a child.
Right. And that's where it's like, I feel like with the Lego set and Ted Lasso, where your audience is primarily like our age group, who are
Sure.
the ones that like these like crossover things, where it's like a nostalgia play, where we grew up with that Lego soccer kit set thing. And if they re-released it and just branded it with AFC Richmond, it's like, oh yeah, let's get it. That thing's cool. Because like, if you guys remember, like you can actually like flick the ball and like play soccer, which was kind of
Yeah,
cool.
that was
Like
cool.
it was like a take on foosball kind of, which was sick.
Right.
Sick.
When do you
Is
think?
that your bold prediction? This is early marketing for the new Ted Lasso Lego set.
No, that's such an easy.
This
bold
is
prediction.
early marketing
Yeah.
for the new Premier League team that will be announced soon. AFC Richmond.
That's impossible.
I mean, they're in FIFA, and FIFA controls the soccer world. So
Well, FIFA's for the larger body.
no,
Yeah.
I get that, but they still have influence in like the Premier League.
Well, I mean, I guess a team could start up and rise through the ranks over many centuries.
But yeah, you'd have to start at a semi-pro local team
Yeah.
Right.
and then work your way
Work
up
all
the
your way
pyramid
up.
system.
That's what we should do. We should all invest in a team like Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney did. McElhenney, I always mess up his last name.
Just call him Rob.
Rob,
Yeah.
because we're on a first name basis.
Yes.
And we should invest
Call
in a
him
team
Mac.
and bring them all the way to the Premier League.
Yeah.
It's not like that dream has ever been said. Or
You have a multi-billion-dollar telecom company that one of the big four want to buy, right?
Yeah.
You guys saw that Reynolds made 1 billion
4.
off of his Mint Mobile company to T-Mobile.
It's nuts.
Insane money for an actor, but that's cool. I mean, granted, he's not getting all of it, but still, like, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Speaking of money, how does Roy Kent still maintain his lifestyle as like a secondary coach?
He made a lot of money because he played for Chelsea for so long.
Yeah.
And he probably invested his money wisely. I mean, he drives a fucking G-Wagon.
I also don't think that those coaches get paid nibbles.
Yeah, I mean, they're a Premier League team now, too,
so
so they probably got a pay bump.
I'm going to, wait, you guys talk real quick. I'm going to look up what a Premier League coach on average.
They're getting paid a lot.
Average
They must be the
salary.
highest paid coaches in the world, like, for the top teams.
So a premier coach pays an average salary of $140,000, and salaries range from a low of $122 to a high of $160.
Oh, that's low.
That's
lower,
really low. What the fuck?
lower than what
Man,
I
Bill
thought.
Belichick gets paid $25 million a year.
Yeah. So NFL head coaches are the highest paid in the world. Because it's not Premier League.
Does that mean that American football is the real football then? Because money talks.
That's the real money ball.
No, wait. This is Premier Coach Company in Georgia. So this is not right.
That's life coaching. These are life coaches.
That's still good money for a life coach.
That's really
now
good
it
for
changes.
Georgia.
Average Premier League coach salary. Here
That's
we go.
hilarious.
Okay.
35,000.
$10.
So
And this is euros?
Manchester City. This is from Hidelo. So like Manchester City currently Pep
Yep. Guardiola.
Guardiola.
Go. Yeah. I don't know how to say it. But
19 million.
Yeah.
19 million euros.
That,
or
see, that
pounds?
sounds right.
Pounds
per year.
Pounds,
per year.
Yeah, so that's a lot. Yeah, I mean,
And then on the low end, the Thomas Frank of Brentford, 1.5 million. So
There you go.
so here's my small quibble with Nate the Great in episode 1, right? He's being paid millions of like pounds at this point, and he didn't think to upgrade his car.
He didn't want to. Also, do you think he's the smartest character in the show?
No.
No.
but he won that.
Well, when it
Rupert
comes to
said-
when it comes to
Rupert gave
soccer,
him
he
the-
would be right.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But for life, no,
He's not the smartest.
clearly not.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
just look at it.
that's setting him up for failure. Didn't
Yeah.
think ahead.
He doesn't dye his hair either.
It's true.
he used to dye his hair, right? Or
What do you mean?
like, because his hair right now is gray.
Yeah.
Was that just from stress, or was it?
Yeah,
always,
that
or-
was in season. That
I
was the
think
whole
that's the
thing in season
implication,
2,
yeah.
right?
Right.
Like his hair was just graying.
Yeah.
Like as he kind of descended into
That's what happens when you turn evil. Yeah, you turn evil, your hair
Goes
goes
gray.
gray.
So, but Nate though, like, we only saw Nate in episode 1, and it's very clear he is kind of he's gone full into like being a dick. Like he's not yelling at players, but he is putting them down.
He's being
definitely putting
condescending
him
to them. Yeah.
he's the antithesis of Ted.
right.
Right? He's the
Yeah.
complete opposite, where he's a strategic master, but he does not connect with his players or value them in any way.
He doesn't treat them like humans.
Yeah.
Have we ever seen like, some of the soccer players on AFC Richmond are based on like real life players in the Premier League? Ted is his own character. I don't think there's ever been a Ted.
I think he's Bill Belichick.
Okay, that's an interesting
That's a
thing.
lie.
But is Nate based on? Do we know if he's based on any other
Yeah.
Premier League?
Nate is based on Bill Belichick.
Oh, okay.
No,
Well,
well,
clearly.
no, I mean, I don't know. I don't know
No.
the Premier League well enough to know if there was someone who was like a kit man turned assistant coach turned head
I
coach
doubt
of
it.
like a West Ham.
Oh,
and-
so no. I
doubt
don't
it.
even mean in that
Yeah.
sense. I mean more in the sense of like a coach
dick.
who's condescending to his players.
Oh, there's
and
probably-
is
yeah,
notoriously
I mean,
known.
probably hundreds of those.
Okay.
Yeah,
So the
probably
entire
all of
Premier
them.
Bobby Knight from
Like probably any coach at any level in any sport, you can find at least a dozen.
Yeah, the coaches who treat their players like chess pieces instead
Yeah.
of living, breathing humans.
So then we could argue then, or we
Bill
could say
Belichick.
that Nate is based on the failures of coaches in professional sports.
I mean, probably yeah. I mean, I think Ted's background. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is at the collegiate level.
Yep, Wichita State.
Right, for a lot of stuff, and college coaches generally are more known to connect with their players, because that's a big part of being a college coach. You have to recruit, you have to be able to connect, you have to sell the player,
Right.
on coming to an institution, right, and like having their
You're
education.
also overseeing like young men become adults,
Yeah.
right? And young women become adults.
Yeah. So that's a big component of being a successful college coach in the United States. So you see that with a lot of Ted's style. And in the pros, like the Nate style of being like a strategic mastermind is valued very highly, right? Like if you look at the NFL, for example, there's in the last 10 years been a recent boon of like hiring these like young 30-year-old coordinators who have like these great, amazing strategies, right? That are like world breaking and like put up record points. And that's what the owners want. They can't necessarily connect with the athletes because a lot of them either like didn't play or extremely young, right? Like a lot of these head coaches are like younger than some of their players.
Jeez.
Like Tom Brady's older than like almost half the NFL head
you're
coaches at this point. And like you didn't see that necessarily. Like there's been a shift in like NFL and other sports too, where it's like the strategic mastermind is valued a little bit more. So I think it's actually pretty smart how Ted Lasso plays that because Rupert represents like the typical sports owner.
Mhm.
And so he has some digs at Rebecca where he's like, it's nice to have a coach who can like,
Who understands? the
who
sport.
understands that. And I think they really want to play into this, like this dichotomy of here's the coach that connects with the players, knows nothing about the sport. Here's the coach that knows everything about the sport, but has absolutely no way to connect with anybody, which will win out, right? Like we're inevitably heading to the Richmond West Ham game final finale, anime winner takes all, Super Saiyan God
You're now just throwing words into a sentence.
finale, Adonis Creed versus
Oh my God! All right, let's get back to Roy Kent real quick because obviously, like Nate being where he is, he's a head coach, and Roy kind of is filling in for Nate. How do you guys like foresee? I guess because Arjun, you wrote here in the outline, filling the Nate void seems scared.
Yeah, there's a line I think in episode 1 with like when Keeley and Roy are explaining to Roy's niece that like he feels some pressure in terms of like he needs to fill this void, right? Nate was like their strategic kind of mastermind in
Right.
season 2, and now Roy feels like he's got to fill those shoes a little bit. And you can see that like the players clearly respect him in episode 2. He's the one that says, "You don't talk to Krim," right? And everybody goes ahead and
He
does
says,
it.
"Oi,
Yeah,
don't talk to this."
this or I'll put my skull through your
F-
fucking head.
Yeah,
Forehead.
forehead.
yeah,
Forehead through your face.
Ted Lasso is a family show, right?
yeah, absolutely.
Clearly.
Big time.
No, they say the F word so much.
Yeah, it's for the
Yeah,
family.
no.
Yeah.
it'd be- yeah.
If kids are out there playing Halo and saying the same thing, then I feel like they can watch Ted Lasso and
Yeah.
Good point,
They're no
actually.
scoping.
no scope.
Oh, wow.
You don't know what no scoping is?
I mean, I probably do. I don't remember.
You know
it
what
is.
no scoping
You take a
is.
sniper
Jesus. You played
rifle.
Halo, didn't you?
Yeah. And then what do you,
You
do?
take a
with it?
sniper
Kill
rifle
somebody with it without looking
without
down the
zoom-
scope.
without looking at the scope.
Across the map.
Yeah,
Wow.
Like a stud.
It's
Which-
insane.
Yeah.
it's very hard.
I think it's interesting that Roy Kent and Nate both have an attitude of F you, and
Yeah.
one of them is brilliant, and one of them doesn't feel brilliant, and then even came out with like an oldie but a goodie play at the first episode.
Yeah,
So, I think we'll see softening of Roy.
Hmm.
and you start to
Clearly.
see that. You see that in episode 2, even when he's opening up a little bit about his feelings with Chelsea and how he felt with Ted, even with Krim there, right? They had the little subplot of he has the old.
Piece of paper.
Looked very old, by the way. Like,
Well, he was 17,
Yeah.
and Roy's probably now in his late 30s.
yeah. What kind of bacteria do you think's on that thing?
None.
Why? Why is that?
That's what comes to my head.
Why?
I'm just sharing what I'm thinking and the feeling, the
my
moments. I'm like,
Who
Yeah,
has
this is
these
a-
thoughts?
how much shit is on that?
Who,
shit?
yeah. Who has these thoughts? Who thinks that?
And then I thought,
What is in your wallet?
And then I thought for the props department, right? Like, how do they what did they do to that piece of paper to get it like crinkly like that and stained? Like I did like a project in elementary school where you had to make like old parchment paper, and I think you like soaked it in coffee, and then like you'd like burn the edges and you crumple it up a little
Oh,
bit.
yeah.
But I'm like, is that what they do, or do they do like something else? or
No.
something
So Roy Kent came onto set, and he's like, "Oi,
I have this.
which one of you is holding on to traumatic issues? Is it your wallet or purse? Or whatever? You fucking need it for the shoot."
And then he ripped it up.
And he ripped it up.
Ooh.
But I mean, going back to Roy, I think that will be interesting to see. Like, Roy is softening, and how that will play into his coaching experience, and also like how will that play into Nate? And like, are we getting a redemption arc for Nate, or do we think it is full villainy? Or
We'll get to that, I think, in the bold predictions for sure. But the other thing with Roy and transitioning, into Keeley, right? Roy and Keeley obviously break up, and Roy breaks up with her. And even in the conversation that he has with Trent and with Ted about his time at Chelsea, that conversation kind of mimics what's happening with him and his thoughts with Keeley, right? He left Chelsea because he didn't want to get the boot. And I think he's now realizing, like, no, you should be in it and enjoy it. Even if the going gets tough, stay and stick with it. So I think that's kind of interesting. And again, to Krish's one word, tension and all that build up and everything.
sexual tension.
Yes.
Because Roy wants to have sex with Chelsea.
between Jamie and Roy.
No, with Roy and Chelsea, the football club.
What the fuck? Actually, that's a really good observation, because I didn't even make that connection. But you're totally right.
I'd like to just point one thing out. I didn't come up with that observation. Lauren did. I'm just stealing it. So,
well, props to Lauren. I mean, that's great. I didn't even
say props to me still because I stole it.
Props to
props to Lauren.
Who wears the pants.
Props to you, Ravi, for stealing that. Great, insightful.
I'm just doing the American thing here of stealing. All right,
stealing is caring.
Exactly,
or something like
it's
that.
It's the greatest form of flattery. I want your stuff, so I took it.
Oh my god!
Where do you guys think? To go back real quick.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of Ted's mindset entering this season? So, like last season, obviously, we really dived into the anxiety, really dived into the mental health issues that he was kind of going through. And they haven't, I mean, it's only 2 episodes. And so, like, we haven't necessarily done more with that. But I think there's, like, some glimpses of the unhappiness that he's having in episode 1, where he, like, drops off his son. He has the conversation with Coach Beard of being like, do you ever wonder, like, why we're still here?
Mm-hmm.
And it definitely feels like setting up for the Ted exit, right?
Right.
Even like when he talks to Rebecca, he's like, we have the team we have, and we'll see what happens. And she's like, no, I want to fucking win. And like, let's win, right? How do you guys read it? Like, do you feel like it's very obvious, like it's the one way, or do we think there's going to be like a pivot and like a shift? Because obviously the rumor has been, and I don't think still has not officially been confirmed, that this is the last season of Ted Lasso.
Yeah, it hasn't been confirmed.
Yeah.
The last thing I heard was the actors that play Roy and Jamie were on some carpet, and they were doing like a joint quick hit interview thing or whatever. And Jamie said something like, if the fans don't like how this season ends, I'll get off the internet or I'll stop acting. And then Roy was like, yeah, and I'll make sure of that, and I'll also do the same because it's just that good. So I don't know. I mean, you could look, like, people looked at that as like, oh, then it is the wrap up to close everything out, is what people are looking at. But again, like, it's kind of weird. I mean, I was trying to think from like a logistics point of like trying to sell the season, because at the end of the day, Apple TV just wants eyes on the show. Like, I don't think the big execs really give a fuck in terms of the story. They just want eyes. So it's kind of weird. Like, is it all part of a marketing thing to keep people's interest?
Yeah.
Or is it like a legit thing that they just don't know? So
there's also the behind the scenes drama, right? Like, it's on Apple TV, but it's a Warner Brothers production.
Yep.
And from what I've read, there's like Warner Brothers is like, we want this on
HBO
Max, HBO, whatever
Discovery
they're going to call
Plus.
that.
The Enterprise.
Dying platform.
Starship Enterprise. They want it on there at some point too. So will that impact future seasons, spin-offs, continuations, et cetera, with that franchise? Because obviously, I think these companies view it as like a tent pole.
It is like, it's super weird. Like, you watch it on Apple TV, and then to get all your merch and your product, you go to the Warner Brothers site and everything. And then when you look at like where it's being distributed, it's both on Apple TV, like social accounts, and Warner brother social account. It's very, very strange.
Yeah, so you have to think that might play into
Yeah.
anything with the future.
Definitely
If,
will.
if I had to guess, I would think they'd want to end the season where it can serve as the end of the show, but then leave enough open for future seasons, right?
Yeah.
So if you had to look at it through that lens, I could see it being like Ted Lasso is going to get to his lowest point, and then all the people that he's influenced positively, like the team and Rebecca and Keeley, they're going to lift him up for a positive conclusion, right? Like where they stay up in the Premier League.
So you're talking specifically how you think season 3 will end, or
yeah, I
Apple
think
TV's
so. Yeah,
Ted Lasso?
and I think it's both, right? I think that's how season 3 ends, and he's going to stick around as the coach. He's going to have enough of the tactical acumen with Beard and Roy to be a viable coach in the Premier League, and so and that maybe allows for future seasons, but it's like they stayed up, and he still has his job, and he's overcome some things, and the people he's influenced have now helped him overcome some things. Yeah, that's how I'd see it.
I think
going.
it depends on Ted's arc. Is this about him learning not to run away from his problems, like he did run to London away from his wife wanting a break? Or is it about him learning to be a better coach? Because that will affect the end.
It's also interestingly in episode 2 of the season, we actually see him act like a coach, where he takes Roy into the shower and he was like very serious, like, figure your shit out, like you're affecting the team.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen Ted like that, especially with the other coaches.
Yeah.
The only thing this season has done that seems more apparent even than previous seasons is like the football side, the football knowledge. Feels like they're playing up his like.
Well, he's been reading that book.
Yeah, but even so, like there's like they mentioned the soccer player, some strategies and stuff, and it's like there's still like nothing. Like he's still at 0, right? Like we're in season 3 at this point, and I guess you'd think if there was an arc of him becoming a better, like he's obviously a good coach when it comes to like connecting with the players,
The people
and
aspect.
the people, but like you haven't seen the growth of his like actual football acumen at all.
Well, I mean, yeah, right.
And I would even say like it's gone worse. I don't know.
I would agree it's gone worse because look at the first episode when Rebecca was talking to Leslie, or Leslie was talking about getting new players, and Ted's initial thing was like, "Oh no, our team is good as is."
Yeah,
and it's like as a coach is never I don't think a coach in the history of anything has ever said going into a new season our team is good as is. No, like even after winning a Super Bowl. Do you think like a Belichick is like, yeah, we'll just keep the same formula? Clearly, no, it just doesn't work that way.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, but the
There's
other
only
teams will
one-
fix it. But
Maybe Arjuna could back this up. There's only one coach I can think of who might be close to that. Not perfectly, but I think Pete Carroll might be the one coach who's like, actually, I kind of like my team as it is because he's a crazy kook. But
the crazier, the better, right?
but even he eventually ran out and then
Exactly.
shipped Russell Wilson away and changed everything for the better.
Was that for him or was it the owner?
I think it was more him.
I'm gonna go with the owner.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was the
maybe
owner.
it was both.
Maybe he is the owner, secret owner.
Plot twist.
Yeah, there you go.
Peter Carroll.
Owner. Any obviously we've only watched 2 episodes so far. Anything that stands out to you in terms of like favorite parts you didn't like? Christian, you want to kick us off with that one?
Yeah, I can go first. I'm going to come up with something right now. I mean, honestly, I thought both episodes were really good, really good, solid episodes all the way through. I think I'm going to say my favorite part, I think, is the stuff with Rebecca. I don't know. I think when there's good, obvious tension with her and Rupert, I think the show is better. Ted Lasso is the focal point, but Rebecca adding tension to Ted Lasso's on putting pressure on Ted Lasso's shoulders, either directly or indirectly, makes it even better. Because like Arjuna said, this is like a workplace comedy and a workplace drama. And having that tension from boss to protagonist, I think, is always compelling. And you need that. in a workplace, anything. So I'm gonna say, yeah, that's my favorite part so far. Is the Rebecca stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's
How
been
about
better.
you, Arjuna?
I'm gonna go with like the thing that I'm most intrigued about for this season, and it's kind of my favorite, and it's kind of what episode 2 sets up with Zava now coming into play, because I am interested to see how it affects the team chemistry, and I think like Jamie was a little underutilized last season, like he felt kind of really pushed to the side, like he had the early arc of coming back, and then it just kind of felt a little static. And I think that's going to push him the most in interesting ways where all of a sudden he's no longer the best player on the team. He is second best. And you can you see a couple shots and a couple lines of dialogue at the end of episode 2 where it's going to affect his psyche a little bit. It's going to affect the team. And, I think always on paper, when you put the best players together, like, sure, it looks great. But, like, anyone that's ever watched sports know team chemistry is super important, right? And they have good players, right? They have Danny, they have Sam, they have Jamie. Now they're adding, Zava, and
A legit superstar.
right, like who headbutts people in the supermarket.
And then walks over them.
Yeah.
And then eats too much asparagus.
And doesn't talk. Strangely.
Well, he did. He said, "Can I keep this bed?"
Yeah, a
He
little
talks
bit.
in the third person, so he's supposed to be like a caricature of Zlatan Ibra.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Yeah, definitely the same hairstyle. Zlatan talked about himself in the third person. Zlatan is that arrogant.
He wears the sunglasses, I think, a lot too.
Yeah,
just like
yeah.
that. Yeah.
So and has played for a million different teams, and everywhere he goes is drama. But he's one of the best players like in the world. So he's got like a god complex.
I just got a really dumb idea for our Ted Lasso finale pod for season 3. Each of us should come dressed as like a footballer, like superstar at a press conference. You can get as zany as you want.
I think I have to be Zidane.
Yeah.
He's probably the most iconic bald football player ever. Maybe.
I thought you were just saying most iconic bald, like
Person.
just bald.
He's
Like
up
when you
there.
say this, an old.
He's up there.
Yeah, he's the most iconic bald.
He's the most iconic bald. Yeah. No, that's Keegan.
Oh man, it's great.
Did they do this? It seems like every season they're like, oh, the new greatest player in the league is coming to our thing. Like last time, wasn't it Football is Life, and then
Well, Danny Rojas was season 1.
yeah,
like,
like
pretty
I feel
early
like
on.
every season they're like, oh, we're getting a player, and all the other players have to go, ooh, I'm not good enough anymore. Like there's Roy and Jamie, and then Rojas, and now I feel like this is just every season.
I
Well,
think
it's
this is a little different.
because every season there's turnover on teams. In fact, that's probably the most realistic part of the show.
But there's no
Is-
turnover on this team.
Well, they're always adding players, right?
Yeah, they're not
And,
subtracting.
Yeah. The team just
So-
gets
Yeah,
bigger.
yeah.
I think
Or
there's
or they
subtracting the
just do it
scrubs.
where like they get rid of players that you don't care about, right? Obviously, there's more than 4 players on this team, and we don't get to know every single one.
Right.
So
Yeah, some of them are literally like just background.
Yeah,
people.
and those guys disappear.
Right.
So
but that would be an interesting tension point if, like if it was like, and it's surprising that they didn't do that for this, like where to make room for Zava, they had to sell like a Danny Rojas or, trade that, it sucks that you have to use this term, but in European soccer, teams actually sell players' contracts to other teams.
Yeah.
I feel a little uncomfortable saying that, but
They did say that he was too expensive.
which we
Yeah.
might see. Like obviously we've only seen up until episode 2, and it's just happened. Like he's just announced
good
it.
point.
So like there might be some of that fallout, and I think it's like always realistic for these kind of football teams. Even seeing into like Welcome to Wrexham, the documentary, where it's like you want to get better and you want to win, but like the players you start out with, most of them aren't going to be there. Like you're
There's a reason, your team goes from 0 to 100. It's
You-
not necessarily with the same people.
you have to replace most of them,
Right.
and most of them just won't be around or make it, to that point. So I do wonder if Ted Lasso will start to explore that a little bit, where it's like, Danny Rojas, when he came in season 1, was supposed to be this phenom, and in especially that second episode, he's kind of played off as like a little dumb. Like,
Oh, yeah, his face makes the goal.
Yeah, his face makes the goal, right? Like he didn't necessarily
Face
make a good
guard.
soccer move. So like, are they setting up Danny to like leave the team, right? Are they setting up where like Jamie maybe has to leave the team or somebody, right?
Going
that'd be
back
interesting.
to like the Rebecca versus Rupert thing, I would not be surprised if Rupert comes in and swoops like one of the main ones.
What about Sam?
I
like,
would say if Sam would
that
be the
comes
most
in
logical.
with the Rebecca
Ooh.
relationship,
Yep.
and then she's like, "You're not on my team anymore. We can have a relationship, but you're no longer on the team."
But he's playing for her ex-husband who she hates. Yeah, that would be very interesting. A lot of levels. to
That's
that.
a lot of tension right there.
That's a good bold prediction. You should
a
say
good
that
one.
for
You
bold
should take that.
predictions.
I will actually. But before we get into bold predictions, let's go back to qualifiers first. What do we need to see happen in season 3 for us to say that this season was good?
Ted Lasso must die.
I was gonna say we need more Grogu.
What the fuck?
Yeah, crossover.
I want Harrison Ford to show up.
Apple, Warner Brothers, and Disney all sit down and they're like, let's take the most positive show on the earth. Let's take the most
And
adorable
destroy it.
thing ever, and we have to merge everything.
Well, look, Brett.
Think about the merge.
Here's the natural crossover you could have. Brett Goldstein is one of the creators on Shrinking, the
Right.
new Apple TV show with Harrison Ford.
Mhm.
So we need Harrison Ford in Ted Lasso season 3.
That would be cool,
He should play Ted Lasso's dad.
dude. that would work.
What,
Isn't his dad dead?
flashback?
Yep.
Never
Yeah,
mind.
It would
Yeah,
have to be
that's
a
right.
flashback.
That's right.
And, that would be awkward.
It's Harrison Ford, but CGI Harrison Ford.
Yeah, DH him a little.
Oh boy.
CGI the mustache.
How about Beard's dad shows up to like, and it's Harrison Ford.
Be weird.
But does anyone actually have a qualifier that they need to see?
Yeah, I'll go with mine. I think Christian kind of said, like, it feels like this is the wrap up. And they've talked about, I think the creators have talked about, like, even if this does go beyond season 3, the story they set out to tell from, like, season 1 and 2 will wrap up in this season. So my qualifier is very simple. Wrap up the story that you intended to tell.
Right.
Right? I think like the story that they've been trying to tell with Ted and with the team and the journey of that team has been good, but I just don't think this is a story you can stretch out to like 8, 9, 10 seasons.
What is
So-
the story?
Well, that's what I want to see, right? I want to see what the conclusion is and go on the journey and be satisfied with it. So my qualifier is very basic. It is wrap up the story and wrap it up well.
Or else I'll find you and beat you up.
Or else.
I mean, it doesn't bode well that we're 2/3 or more into the story and we still don't know what the story is.
I think the story is about
Ted.
is about Ted. Yeah. The show is called Ted Lasso, and I think as Ravi had kind of mentioned earlier, you have this, and you mentioned earlier too, Michael, like this is the story of this coach who kind of came into this job and is he going to run away? Is he going to figure it out? Is he going to become this? So I think there needs to be some conclusion potentially to that arc.
That makes sense.
Does the squad figure it out? Does he leave and like the impact he left is what changes? Is he the one that changes and they all become kumbaya, the best team in the league and win the whole thing?
I think your mentioning of teams recycling players is a good indication that they probably won't. There's no way to wrap up the story of the team. The story of the team goes on and on
forever.
and on, like
Right.
The Sopranos.
Even beyond, right? It goes on beyond what they're going to show. But again, I think the show being called Ted Lasso, the
Yeah,
story
it's
is
about
about
Ted.
him, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
about him. And it's about his impact. And you could do future seasons, like if he left, for example, of like this is the impact of Ted Lasso, or you spin it off and call it like AFC Richmond or whatever, right?
No, it's just called The Legacy of Lasso, or Lasso's Legacy.
Lasso
Or
Legacy.
does it go to America and it becomes about college basketball?
Not even college football, basketball.
It just
that
follows
is.
Ted wherever he goes.
Could. Yeah.
I mean, that would be. I mean, going back to the whole, Warner Brothers and Apple. I think in part, like the cast and crew are not saying this is the finale because I think it is going to be. This was Apple TV's Ted Lasso, and then next season it will be Warner Brothers Ted Lasso.
Yeah.
And I think there will be a
HBO's?
clear cut in terms of like this 3-part is the initial arc of Ted Lasso, and now we're moving into something different. When, to Lehrman's point, yeah, it could very well be Ted's like, I've done what I can do here in Britain with the premiere thing. I'm going to go back home, be close to my kid. Beard, you're coming with me, and we're going to coach
And Roy.
The U.S. national
Roy.
team.
Yeah, or something. Yeah, something like why couldn't it be that
Team
Good.
USA.
I guess my
yeah, I think it should.
here's my read on the situation. How long does Jason Sudeikis want to play this character?
Well, him
Because-
and Olivia Wilde are still having problems. So.
Well, they're divorced.
Well, there was a recent tabloid photo where they were getting coffee.
Oh, really? I was
like-
wondering about that.
Yeah, I wonder about this every day, and then it pops up. in
Wait,
the-
so is Ted Lasso just therapy for Jason Sudeikis?
Yes.
I don't think it's therapy. I think it is something he genuinely enjoys, and like, I think the entire cast and crew. I think the core group of writers very much care about these characters and the messaging that they're trying to bring in terms of awareness of mental health. I think that has become very, very obvious with, they were at the White House a couple of days ago to
Raise awareness
for mental health with journalists, and there was a whole spat thing. I don't know if you guys have seen the clip.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting. Has nothing to do with the crew of Ted Lasso. It has to do with like our press secretary just not calling on certain news outlets, and finally this one individual reporter had enough and decided to and I don't know their political views and all that
Very
stuff,
right,
but I
Wayne.
do appreciate that he knew bringing up his issues when the cast of Ted Lasso was there would get the attention he needed.
Yeah.
So good for him. But yeah, they did address the press group recently about that. And they've done that a few times at various venues and things.
Yeah.
So I don't know. All this is to say, I don't know if it's therapy for Jason and his stuff with his ex-wife and everything. I think it's more he does genuinely care about
Yeah,
the mental
I
health
think he does,
aspect.
but I guess just in the interviews and the vibe I've gotten from like just reading and seeing his stuff is like he has a set story he wants to tell, and then he's like ready to move on to the next thing. But I think the cast and the crew really love doing this show. So it's like, do we see a scenario? Maybe we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but like, is there a scenario where there's Ted Lasso, right? Like it is AFC Richmond, and like he leaves, and like you follow the team, right? And then like maybe in a few years there's a separate show on HBO Max where it's like Ted Lasso, college basketball head coach, because he's like, I want to do this character again, but like do something a little different, because like that's the natural part of his character's arc.
I mean, Family Guy and like Seth MacFarlane, like obviously he was the showrunner for a bunch of seasons, and then he has kind of departed. He still lends his voice, but he doesn't have like a say necessarily in the day to day.
Yeah.
So it could be something like that where Jason is still a part of it in terms of playing the character, but in terms of like all the writing, pre-production, he's not part of that. Because again, we all know that is the aspect that takes a lot of time. Like sit and figure out a full story and write it. And
He's also writing
improved.
with several people, including Nate.
Yep.
So it could be that his part of this is done, and then one of his other writers has a follow-up that they want to do.
Yeah.
And that's what, I don't think you could do Ted Lasso without Ted Lasso, though, to answer your question.
Yeah, you could keep it in the same world, but it'd be like a spin-off show with totally different branding.
Yeah, like it called AFC Richmond or something.
Right. If you continue
Nate the
in
Great.
that space.
Right.
Or Nate the Great. Christian, what's your qualifier, though, for you to say, yes, season 3 of Ted Lasso was good?
I think just keep this continuity that we've developed in these first 2 episodes. Kind of like I mentioned off the top, the reason I didn't enjoy season 2 was because every episode didn't feel connected to the one previous. Like that Christmas episode was just totally random, and there was no tension whatsoever in that episode. So just we've got some through lines. Keep going with those through lines. Don't just forget about them halfway through, and follow them to their conclusions. So simple, basic good storytelling. Just keep doing that.
I'm going to make my qualifier even more simple than your 2 qualifiers by using math. Because math makes everything smart and simple. There are 12 episodes listed on IMDb for Ted Lasso. IMDb. So far, we have 2 episodes out. 1 episode had soccer, so the ratio of general storytelling to storytelling around soccer matches is about 50%. So we need to stay between the 35 to 50% ratio of soccer drama to general drama. In
So
order
about
for
one
me
third to half.
right? In order for me to say that this season was good. So
Math.
Interesting.
we're going to math it up, people.
I like that.
And it
I
was
like
really
that a
like
lot.
half the episode that had soccer in it.
Right, but the majority of the episode took place around the idea of this Richmond versus Chelsea, as opposed to, there's the issues with Roy and Keeley and Trent, and then, if it was like you did all of that, and then there was an off-screen soccer match, and then we're back to the drama or whatever at the end, I wouldn't count that as a soccer episode. You have to actually see them play soccer to qualify it.
Fair.
And some world building and continuation of the story needs to happen during that match as well, like what we saw in this episode. So it's going to be a little bit of math to like determine if this actually qualifies.
At the end of the season, we'll pull out our calculators. And
yes,
we'll see if Ravi's qualifier holds up.
There we go.
pretty intense qualifier. We're going to look at bowl predictions revisited before we get into our current this season bowl predictions. Now, some of these may we may not know until the end of the season. Some of these we may have already kind of failed on. So, bear with us. Christian's bowl prediction for this season, which was made a couple months ago or a year ago.
A couple years ago.
How long ago was it?
2021. Wow.
Jesus Christ. I was so
about a year
young
and a half
back
ago
then.
Yeah. Christian said Richmond will get regulated. Roy will become manager for Ted when he is let go. Interesting.
Wow.
Interesting. That could still happen.
Could still happen, yeah.
Yeah, Nate makes the joke that they can't finish 21st because,
There's only 20
teams.
I had said next season is not going to be the football season immediately following this one, a year and a half.
Like a year and a half time jump.
Yep. So I was wrong. That's a fail.
Failed.
Halfway through season 2 will lead Nate to ask Ted for advice. I think I meant halfway through season 3, Nate will ask Ted for advice. So that could still happen.
Right.
Yeah.
And will we see the turn or not?
Yep.
I'm hoping we don't see the turn. Honestly.
Yeah. I want Nate to stay
I don't want
full
redemption
villain.
for that spitter.
Yeah, he spits a lot. Yeah, it's gross.
It's like a
What
cow.
do you want for him?
For Nate?
Yeah.
Death.
Death?
Actually.
No. Honestly, I think for Nate, he needs to lose spectacularly and be humbled. Really.
Yeah, he needs to be embarrassed.
Yeah,
Not
I wonder if
well,
he falls
maybe embarrassed,
if he
but-
falls all the way back down to being a Kitman, right?
I think
I
if
don't
you
know. I don't
fail
think he
at
could
that
go-
level, I think he would just quit.
He has
Yeah.
been embarrassed, though. This entire season, he spent embarrassed.
But he's
True,
been
but he
embarrassed
needs
by
to be
himself.
embarrassed. He needs to be embarrassed on the pitch, right?
Right.
That's where his strength lies.
Yeah.
He
He's
needs
the
to
wonder
get
kid,
outsmarted
kind.
on the pitch
Wonder
and
kid.
then realize he's got to bring in the human element to have full success.
Yeah.
And he needs to learn that at the very end,
Right.
I think.
Arjuna had said for his bold prediction, Ted and the unnamed therapist will hook up. So that would be Sharon.
I think it was Sharon.
Yes. Did you not?
I
remember?
don't see it.
I didn't write it down.
Oh.
I
So-
don't
see
think
it.
that's gonna happen.
I don't think that's going to happen either.
She's
But
with the rugby player. Now.
you don't know. You don't know.
I mean, they've established that they talk about that kind of thing.
It's true.
I think it's still possible.
Anything is possible.
It's true. It's possible. But unlikely, I think.
I mean, it would be a massive breach of like the medical or ethical code, like a big one. Like she could lose her license technically over stuff like that. Because
Even after you stop
I
seeing
believe so. Because technically though, you could argue he's still a patient.
Right.
they still talk, yeah.
So yeah, that's a pretty big breach. I don't, and she seems like a very ethical individual. So I don't think that's gonna happen. But again, this is Hollywood, and Hollywood makes weird decisions.
It's true.
True that, yo.
Yeah. Let's hear bold predictions for season 3 of Ted Lasso.
Ooh. So obviously we have these other predictions. Can they contradict those predictions or should they kind of add on?
They can contradict. I don't see why not.
I mean, they can contradict.
He just
but-
won't be 100. You know, he won't be.
Oh,
2
yeah,
for 2.
yeah. Right. To get the
And
full,
also, we'll kinda
you wanna be
judge you.
batting 100.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, my bold prediction. I'm going to stick with the idea that Sam is going to get poached by West Ham and Rupert, and that will lead back into the romantic somehow part of Rebecca and Sam.
Would you be upset if they just never touched the Rebecca?
Kind of,
Sam
because I thought it was one of the
relationship?
more interesting parts of season 2. Like, season 2 has a lot of problems and a lot of things I just don't remember. That relationship just seemed like real and interesting, and like, you know, it felt dramatic, and like, this is a drama, a comedy drama, right? Like, so you want to see more of that stuff.
Yeah.
You want to see tension, right?
I was a little disappointed, and it's minor because it'll obviously balance out, hopefully, over the other episodes. But, like, Sam was very minor in these first 2 episodes, obviously comparatively to season 2. Obviously, we only have a small snapshot of the season, so we have to see how it plays out. But it is interesting when you look at IMDb and stuff with the cast. A lot of the players, the main players, were all recurring for the first 2 seasons, but are now starring. Like, they get starring billing on the show. Including Sam. So it will be interesting to see, does that mean more screen time? You know, typically that's normally what it means. It also means like a pay bump.
Get that money.
So I guess we'll see.
Do you think any of these actors know how to play soccer?
I think the actor who plays Danny Rojas does.
Okay.
That was part of his audition.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Yeah.
Doesn't everybody? It's just soccer.
Yeah,
You just kick the ball around. It's not like it's a real sport.
You know, all you have to do, too, like, when you look at
Wow.
the shots as well, when they're, like, running and doing fancy things, it's usually waist up. And that's just a matter of you just being, like dancing around or whatever. Like, oh, yeah, I'm so good at soccer. And then you cut with, like, a professional soccer player's, like, leg.
They're just on like a balance board, and they're just basically
No, better. They're on a one wheel. They're just on
Yeah,
a one wheel.
one wheel.
Like,
Well,
balance
what's
thing.
interesting is there are like some sports movies and shows that will bring in like former athletes and stuff to play players, right?
Like
So,
minor characters.
Like in the Adam Sandler version of like Longest Yard, Michael Irvin plays a wide receiver, right? You know, in
Moneyball.
in Moneyball they have actual, you know, Chris Pratt was a former Major League Baseball.
Well, no,
player.
he's one of the only movie actors
right.
on the teams.
Yeah.
They use.
Yeah, so a lot of them will use like actual
Right, you
former
want
players
going
or
for
whatnot.
authenticity.
Yeah, like the Draft Day movie with Kevin Costner has like, I think Arian Foster is like one of the running backs in the.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So.
He plays the top overall pick, right? And,
He played.
or
It's
something.
not the top overall pick. It's the running back that the owner wanted to get because his dad played for the team, and the dad is Terry Crews.
What an incredibly horrible movie. It's
a great bad
it's
movie.
Horrible.
Great bad.
So bad it's bad. It's still bad.
Christian, do you have your bold prediction?
I'm just gonna.
Love us. Okay.
Okay, yeah. So Ted Lasso is gonna be forced to take a leave of absence from the team, probably around mental health stuff, and Roy Kent will take over. And right before he takes over, the team's actually doing well. Roy Kent takes over, and the team starts sucking, and they're gonna tank. And Roy Kent's gonna be like, "Oh, I actually can't do this." And yeah, so that's my prediction. It's not fully fleshed, but I think that is a thing that will happen.
Yeah, that's my prediction.
That is my prediction.
Junior, your bold prediction? And don't say Ted Lasso dies.
Ted Lasso will shave his mustache. Just kidding. Maybe. Actually, that would be interesting.
Maybe, yeah,
That'd be
maybe.
an
That'd be
interesting
kinda
journey
wild.
part of thing.
Yeah.
But no, my bold prediction will be Roy Kent, by the end of the season, will become the perfect balance of Ted and Nate. He'll
He'll be the Bindu.
He will be the perfect in-between of strategy and connecting with players. And I think that feels like the arc that they're trying to set up with him, where he's like trying to open up more and connect more. He's trying to become a better strategist, a better coach. And he will be kind of the perfect blend of the two and be like the head coach of AFC.
One of the trailers does have him saying "good job" or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's Beard thinks.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Beard's screaming in episode 2.
Oh man, that was hilarious. Like, I love how Beard was the most invested in Roy's and Keeley's.
The whole team
breakup.
was.
Well, Ted faints.
Oh yeah,
Everybody
that was good. But like he multiple times was like, ah! And like running back to hear like developments.
Yeah.
Why do you think he broke up with her?
because he's stressed.
I think Ravi pointed it out, the stolen point from Lauren when he was explaining his time with Chelsea, where it's like he wanted to get out before he got the boot. He could see that, the relationship was going to end with just the way that things are going, so he ended it first.
He
ran away.
Not sabotaged it, but he saw the writing on the wall and decided to get out while he still could.
He's like, I see the end date. I see the end date here, right? And because he talked about, I think the parallel with the Chelsea stuff, where he's like, we beat Arsenal 3-0, but I sucked in that game, and I couldn't get out of my head that it wasn't good enough anymore. And he probably saw something similar in that relationship where, like, she's on this trajectory, I'm on this trajectory, and, like, it doesn't fit anymore.
But didn't he say then after the Chelsea thing that he wished he would have stayed?
Yep.
And so you would
there's
think
that regret.
But then he said, he has that line after that. It's like, but I guess I'm just not that person.
And then Ted
And
says,
then Ted Lasso's like,
not yet.
Yeah.
So
okay, yeah.
Ted knows what's up. He wrote the script.
So did Roy.
What do you think's on Ted's mind as it cut to black?
Well, he talks about
Probably what's for dinner.
How's his kid doing?
There's a line he has in there about quitting, right? And, like, I think the theme of, like, quitting or giving up on the team has come up a few times with Ted in the early season. And I almost wonder if, like, Christian's bold prediction is right, but, like, he quits on the team halfway through. Like, he actually leaves the team on his own accord. Like, he's just like,
What am I
I
doing
can't
here?
do this. And he actually goes back to America and is like, I'm going to be with my kid. I shouldn't be here anymore. You guys aren't good enough hands. I'm good.
He's probably feeling a lot of imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
I think that's a big theme of this season. But I was thinking earlier, you got Nate feeling that way. You've got
Roy.
You've got Ted. You've got lady owner
Rebecca.
And you've got Keeley.
Feeling the same way, yeah.
And like the Ted thing, reading the book is played off for laughs, but it's also like read deeper into it. Why is he reading the book? Because he's like, I don't know shit about the sport, and this is like my third season.
I don't know what I'm doing.
I think it's an interesting conflict. Speaking of tension, right? Is if Ted leaves, is he quitting the team or not quitting his family?
Right. Exactly.
Like, what's more
That's a
important?
good point. Yeah.
Well, if
team,
you ask Jean-Luc Picard in the Star Trek series Picard, the Federation is all he ever needed and not family. So Ted is going to make a similar decision and decide that soccer and coaching is more
Football is
important
life.
than family. Yeah, football
is life.
Yeah, there you go.
It's going to become Danny and be like, screw my family. I don't need them.
They don't want him. That's, I think, the big key is
The wife doesn't
he
want him.
can't give up on something that doesn't want him around.
Well, his kid wants him. I mean,
Does
at
he?
this point,
This kid wants
Yes.
Legos.
I mean, that Infinity Gauntlet thing from his mom's friend was way cooler than that thing he
Some
got from
Lego.
his dad.
This is true.
it's true.
Did they have to get Marvel's permission to use that?
nope.
I mean, I guess it's just a
Well,
toy,
Brett
so-
Goldstein's part of the MCU now.
Yeah, everyone's
Yep.
part of everyone else's franchise.
Yep.
There you go.
It's all one big
My camera's dead.
franchise thing.
I have
you
to
go.
stop talking now.
I think it's that time, guys, to ask the question.
Let's do this.
Who wants to go first? Who wants to?
Ravi,
Oh, okay.
was Ted Lasso, Season 3, Episode 1 and 2, the titles of which I do not know. Good.
Smells like Mean Spirit, and I don't want to go to Chelsea.
With parentheses.
With parentheses.
Oh.
Yes, they were good.
Wow.
Some of the best Ted Lasso,
Ted Lassos.
Ted Lasso since season 1.
There you go.
I also I don't know why, but as soon as I saw Trent
Krim.
from The Independent, who is now Independent, I wanted
Clever.
Indian food for some reason. It was weird.
Oh, because of the
scene
season
from
1
season
episode.
one.
Yeah. It's such an impactful
Yeah.
scene or whatever.
I'm interested to see how his arc plays out, like now following
the
the,
book.
team in the
Yeah.
book. Yeah.
The book.
Oh, it actually turns out, much like Attack on Titan potentially, where this is a retelling,
He's telling the
it's
story.
Trent actually retelling the whole thing.
He becomes head
Whoa.
coach at the end of the season.
Trent Krim is actually the main character all along.
Yeah, you just didn't know.
I can
Another
see that.
imposter syndrome.
Krishna, was Ted Lasso Season 3, Episode 1 and 2, where the CGI is better than the trailer, good?
Yeah, it was good. For all the reasons Ravi said, all the reasons Juno said.
I haven't said
Yeah, it's
if
fun.
it's good
I'm
or
having
not.
fun. I'm having, put it this way, I'm having fun again. I was pleasantly surprised last week for episode 1, and I was looking forward to episode 2 this week, and it delivered, and that's a good thing. So hopefully the train keeps going, and we don't
Are you ready
crash and burn.
Are you ready to declare that Ted Lasso is in fact back?
No, we can't do that until the end.
Till it's over and cannot.
But I'm
be
hoping.
back.
I'm hoping. Exactly.
Okay.
Arjuna, thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Just kidding. Was the first 2 episodes of season 3 of Ted Lasso good for you?
It was good. I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed the
I
things
enjoyed
I
it.
saw.
It gave me so much excitement.
Jesus.
No, it was good. I do like. I feel like the storytelling's a little more consistent. I think it is getting back to its roots a little bit, but also not ignoring season 2. You know, I think some shows will, like, if they have a bad season, just kind of like retcon or, you know, try to ignore things that happened in that previous season. And I think they, you know, fumbled through the season a little bit, and I think they're trying to take the best parts of it and still incorporate it into this show. So I'm excited to see where it's going, and what kind of happens with it.
I think soccer will happen. Hopefully.
There will be blood.
What if they just they just changes unannounced, like no reason explained, like they're just a basketball squad all of a sudden?
And that would be the beard LSD episode.
Yeah.
That's how you would explain that.
I hope there isn't a beard LSD. No, I did like.
He's
the
also a
LSD.
writer on the show.
This is
A lot of
true.
the stars of this show are also writers.
I think it's the 3 of them: Nate, Beard, and Ted.
Or the
Roy-
main
Roy-
one.
Are the main writers.
Roy's the writer. I don't know if Nate is.
No, Nate is definitely.
Well, Roy is definitely one of the main. Brett Goldstein is definitely one.
Oh, really?
Definitely one of the main writers, because he also is the co-creator of Shrinking, and he joined the show originally as a writer, and then they told him to audition.
You're
for
gonna
Roy.
be Roy.
Yeah.
And then he auditioned, and they're like, "Okay, you're also gonna be Roy."
Oi!
Some money right there.
Yeah.
Well, that's gonna do it for us here on
Double
Was It
dipping.
Good? As always, thank you for checking it out, listening, and all that fun stuff. Couple of announcements before we get out of here. We are going to be at WonderCon 2023 in Anaheim. If you're going to be there, definitely come find us. Arjuna and myself will be dressed up as the Mandalorian and Boba Fett. We do have a cool prize giveaway. I will give you a quick hint of what it is. Jason Sudeikis was
Sudeikis? Who the fuck is that?
How do you say his last name?
Sudeikis.
Sudeikis. Jason
Sudeikis?
Sudeikis did kick this creature. So that is your hint as to
I thought it
what
was
we're
a punt. He
giving,
punched
giving,
him.
giving
He
away.
kicked this thing.
He kicked this thing.
So it could be a
He
soccer
punched
ball.
him.
Could be a soccer ball. Yeah, exactly. Could
Did
just
he
be
kick
giving
him
you a
or
soccer
punch him?
ball as well.
Punch a soccer ball.
If you're not going to
Could be
be at WonderCon, you can still enter. Follow us on TikTok at Was It Good Pod. You'll see the information there, as well as Instagram at Was It Good Pod, and on Twitter at Was It Good. Definitely check out the full YouTube clips on youtube.com/wasitgood and our website, wasitgood.info. Our next pod is going to be Dungeons and Dragons, the movie that cannot fail.
Or the Bad Batch finale.
Or the Bad Batch finale. One of the two.
When's that?
Next Wednesday.
Yes.
Oh, shit.
There's a lot happening next week.
Wow.
Either way, there will be 2 pods next week, so follow along. Goodbye.
We are Was It Good?